remind all that this meeting is being webcast, and for those in attendance that you should refrain from making any defamatory statements. And also a reminder to the gallery that the use of a recording device is agreed to the Code of Meeting Practice, and anyone who contravenes or attempts to contravene will be expelled from the meeting. Councillors, I now need a motion to bring in Councillor Carter via Teams for the purposes of the meeting. Councillor Sherry and Councillor Flannery. Thank you, councillors. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thank you, councillors. We'll now begin with our acknowledgement of country. If you could all stand here. Yass Valley Council recognises the Ngunnawal people, the traditional custodians of the land, water and sky. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and future emerging leaders. We extend our respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who live in the Yass Valley local government area. And the prayer. Please join me in the prayer or take this moment to reflect. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon this council. Direct and prosper our deliberations to the true welfare of Australia and the people of Yass Valley. Amen. Councillors, please be seated. I believe we have an apology from Councillor Burgess.
I'll move the apology.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Seconded, Councillor Butler. Oh, sorry. Councillor Campbell. All those in favour? Councillors, we have no further apologies. Do we have any declarations of pecuniary interest or special disclosures? Thank you, councillors. Our first item, 4.1, the development application DA 250328 Dragon Dream Festival, 542 Case Road, Jasper. Councillors, we have a recommendation before us.
I'll move the recommendation.
So moved Councillor McGrath, seconded, sorry, was that Councillor Flannery? Sorry.
I'm going to foreshadow a motion, but I probably
Okay, sorry. Councillor Chow. So the mover, Councillor McGrath, you have the floor.
Madam Mayor, I think the festival, importance of the festival to we Jasper, just more than justifies the recommendation. I mean, if you think in terms of the flow-on effects for the community of we Jasper, the school, the bushfire brigade, the community, and for the whole of Yass Valley, it's important. It's equally important, in my view, as the Murrumbidgee Field Day is to Yass Valley. That's the reason I support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Councillor Chow is the seconder.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just got a couple of points I'd like to make. I rise to speak in support of the motion to approve this DA for the Dragon Room Festival at 542 Case Road, Jasper. As a retired Lieutenant Colonel with 27 years full-time experience, one of my core responsibilities was to undertake rigorous risk assessments for live fire training scenarios that replicated warlike conditions. These scenarios demanded precision, sound judgment and robust mitigation strategies. That profound experience has shaped how I approach any significant risk assessment with an acute eye for detail, a deep appreciation and understanding of risk, and a focus on practical and reasonable mitigations. In this instance, I have taken a fine-tooth comb and scrutinised the event organiser's risk assessment with that same mindset. I have also given full and genuine consideration to the concerns raised by the New South Wales Police, respectfully acknowledging the depth of their operational experience and the rationale for their objections. However, whilst public safety must always be front and centre, I firmly believe that we must also guard ourselves against adopting a nanny-state mindset that overcompensates for risk. The Dragon Dreaming Festival has been operating here for more than a decade, with relatively few incidents. The track record is not luck, it is product of careful planning, learning from past events and adapting to new challenges. I commend the organisers for their professionalism and flexibility that have shown in strengthening the risk mitigation strategies. I am confident that the measures in place are now credible, defensible and would withstand scrutiny in a court of law. From a duty of care perspective, I am satisfied they have done what is reasonably expected to provide a safe, inclusive and enjoyable experience for all. I also cannot ignore the broader cultural context. Across our country, we have seen the regrettable demise of a number of music festivals due to mounting costs, logistical pressures and regulatory hurdles. These events are more than just entertainment. They are part of the rich tapestry of diversity within our amazing communities. Losing them diminishes not only our culture, but also the opportunities they provide for connection, creativity, inclusivity, freedom of expression and shared experiences. We also cannot lose sight of the scale of the economic benefit across the Yass Valley. This event is projected to bring in close to $1.2 million into the local economy over one weekend, a welcome boost for local retailers, hospitality venues and many community groups that depend on this festival as their primary means of annual fundraising. Finally, in my role as one of Council's delegates to the Southern Tableland Arts, I note the letter of support from the Executive Director, Ms. Rose Marin. This festival is more than an economic driver, it is a creative platform that nurtures local artists and musicians and enriches the cultural identity of our region. Madam Mayor, fellow councillors, yes, there is residual risk, but in my opinion, it is managed, mitigated and acceptable, which is countered by the significant social, cultural and economic benefits. For these reasons, I take pride in supporting this DA. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Tarrant. Councillor Campbell.
I'd like to move an amendment, please. I'd like to change the 3 years to 5 years, please. That's my amendment.
Does the mover accept that amendment?
I do, Madam Mayor.
Does the seconder?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I do.
I believe you have your amendment.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Flannery.
I was going to read the same. Slow on the buzzer.
Do you have any speakers against? Okay, councillors, at this point then, I will move a foreshadowed motion myself. The foreshadowed motion, if I could have that on the screen. Yep, thank you. Councillors, it is not with any light consideration that I put forward the following foreshadowed motion. That refusal be given on these terms, that the event is unacceptably high risk due to the relatively remote location with limited single access and egress and potential bushfire hazard at which it is held, and therefore the site is not suitable for the proposed development. The consideration of the advice and objections of New South Wales Police and the LEMC in relation to the safety of the event as a public interest consideration. The event is not considered to be safe as a result of the unacceptable risks associated with the emergency management of the event. The number of high risks identified in the applicant's event risk management plan that remain even after mitigation measures have been implemented. The reduced response times in responding to an emergency management situation, namely a large-scale evacuation or medical response. The safety concerns cannot be adequately mitigated when held at this location. The high likelihood that an overdose will take place versus the time it will take to transport a patient to a critical care facility is high risk, which cannot be further mitigated. Noting the 2024 event reported 97 presentations, including 15 Category 2 presentations, which are imminently life-threatening. The ability to intubate on site for 2025 is limited to 2 patients. The possibility of a natural disaster resulting in an unplanned evacuation versus the number of people and available resources to facilitate that evacuation equal a high risk, which cannot be further mitigated. And the negative impact on the local police budget used to prevent, disrupt and respond to crime in Yass Valley, noting a depletion of 80,000 plus from operational costs incurred as a result of responding to the Dragon Dreaming event beyond the user pay arrangement. Councillors, that's the foreshadowed motion. We'll now resume to debate on the motion at hand, which has the amendment of the 5 years. Do we have any further speakers for the event? Councillor Butler.
Through you, Madam Mayor. I'm really happy that the amendment was made. I fully support the 5 years. I think that that's brilliant. I don't think that the event organisers should have to go through this much effort to get this across the line. I won't say much, but I am really excited that I will be able to attend this event this year. I've never been able to because it's always been held when we're away. And I think I just echo what Councillor Charity said, is that what scares me more is that we do move more towards a nanny state society where all risk is just deleted for myself and for the future generations, such as my children, and they grow up in a world where they just don't get to experience anything because there's just nothing left, because everything is risky in what we do in life. So I also fully, acknowledge the work of the New South Wales Police. I can't imagine that it's an easy task, and they do a wonderful job protecting our community, but we have to let people make their own choices in life, and that is what they do, and fully support the event. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Butler. Councillor Flaherty, I'll just see if there's a speaker against first, if I can. Okay. Councillor Flaherty.
I thank you, and thank you everyone that's come in to present. And Councillor Butler, I echo. I do, in the past I've been slightly sceptical, but I do really support people being autonomous, small businesses having their say, being able to run their events, not having a heavy hand of people that get a wage if the situation is good or bad. I totally acknowledge for the police it mightn't be great in certain circumstances, but I absolutely respect and value the Blue Jasper community. They've been there a long time. It's a tightly held group, and I think we should do everything that we can possibly do to minimise the regulation in terms of making it a 5-year, not a 3-year, and really endorse this event.
Thank you, Councillor Flaherty. Councillor Carter.
I speak for the motion. My thanks to Councillor Cameron for the amendment to 5 years. That makes perfect sense. I must admit I was quite disappointed with the police report on this particular event, and I speak to this slightly as a criminal barrister at times who's had to work with police reports, and it reminds me of some of that work in some ways. Interestingly, the stats around unfortunate drug use, which often is in relation to these kind of festivals, suggest that normally that can be as high as 25% or above. The evidence at this festival was actually a really significantly reduced number, and I think the organisers have taken a really positive approach to risk reduction in that space, and I would have believed or hoped, I suppose, in that sense, that there would have been more appropriate recognition of that from the police report in relation to this particular festival more generally. We do know that our young people in the region, both in Yass Valley as well as more broadly in terms of, I suppose, the capital territories, are looking for festivals, are looking for activities, are looking for the opportunity to experience life in some ways. We do know that our villages, particularly like Wee Jasper, require economic stimulus. I've heard from a number of businesses right across Yass Valley who talk about the tremendous positive impact that comes from festivals generally across the region, but more so from this particular activity within the region ourselves. It's easy to scaremonger, but sometimes we have to stand above that and recognise that there are important opportunities for people here to be able to express themselves, to bring economic activity to the valley in what I think will be an amazing event. And I'm looking forward to stories of success, stories of how the event has brought together a community in the most safe way possible. The crime stats in relation to this event generally point to a really safe event. I've seen lots of other events where there are significantly worse factors that have been talked about than in relation to this particular report. So I commend the organisers for their work with respect to risk reduction. I commend my fellow councillors that are speaking in favour of this particular motion. I look forward to this activity being a figment of a key ferment in that sense, of activities within the Yass Valley moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor Carter. Councillor Cameron, yes.
Speaking for.
You may.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. This has been a successful festival over a number of years, and it's been supported almost unanimously over the years by the Yass Valley Council. And that's because Wee Jasper community supports it. I remember a couple of years ago, Madam Mayor, you and I were both at the AGM where the festival report was given, and the support from the local community there, the representatives, was overwhelming in favour of it. And we also should be supporting it because the festival provides employment for locals, and quite a lot of locals. We should also support it because the local First Nations community are supportive of the process as well. And it provides income for local businesses. And I notice there are a lot of, in Cooma Street just recently I saw a closing down sale sign, and I think a number of retail businesses particularly are finding it very difficult to survive at the current economic climate. And we should support it because it adds to our calendar, as already mentioned, as a tourist destination, along with the Yass picnic races, the Irish and Celtic Music Festival, and as mentioned before, the Murray Field Day. It would be most disappointing to be part of a council that loses such a festival, because if we do, I doubt whether we'd have any chance of getting it back into the Yass Valley. I think we need to go to 5 years, as I mentioned, because I think the festival organisers need the surety of tenure so that they can really promote and advertise this festival to a much greater extent, not only for the festival's benefit, but for the Yass Valley as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Cameron. I now have the brave role of speaking against the motion before I hand over to, sorry, I'll just check with Councillor Hawthorne. Let's just okay. So, councillors, firstly, I'd just like to thank you for your respectful debate. I value each and every one of your opinions immensely. I speak against the motion, in particular the provision of the 5 years. Given the ability for something to go wrong, given the likely risks and the inability to mitigate the risks, I think it's very possible that we could get a bad batch of drugs at this event, in which case, if there was multiple deaths recorded, we've already had one in 2015, if there were multiple deaths recorded, I would urge Council to consider a further amendment back to 1 year for this event, giving you the ability to withhold further agreement to continue this event should the management of this prove untenable going forward. I think you need to leave yourself that option, and it certainly would provide the organisers that they're on notice, that they need to continue and maintain the rigour that you're expecting of them this year, just as they would in 2030. So I'm speaking against the 5-year extension. I'm speaking against the motion generally, because I believe that this event, in its current location, has some unmitigatable risks that I've got to be able to put my head on the pillow tonight and know that I did what I think is the right thing to do and vote the way that I need to, particularly knowing that there's at least 200 children involved at this event. They will not know that in the event of a bushfire, they will have to shelter in place, and that is during Ember attack. That is with 6,000 potential other patrons and organisers in varying states of ability to understand what's happening to them. We have a report that tells us there were 213 separate drug detections, 35 of those being cannabis, and the others seized by police were psilocybin, MDMA, ketamine, LSD, diazepam, alprazolam, and methamphetamine, and the police estimate that those detections, quote unquote, are a drop in the ocean in relation to the quantity of drugs entering the festival, and that almost all of the presentations in 2025, including 97, of those 15 were category 2. So these are life-threatening. If you turned up to Yass Hospital, you would be immediately transferred to the higher facilities in Canberra. Where are they in relation to this? If the chopper is available, if it's available, that's 1.5 hours away. 90 kilometres by road. That's if you've gotten through a bottleneck of traffic going out in the 20 to 24 event, of the 2,500 vehicles travelling to the event, there were 4 serious crashes, and that was just on the entering and exiting under normal circumstances. If this was on the Barton Highway, that would be 1 crash every 625 vehicles. And to put it in context, in the past 12 months, there's only been 1 crash of similar nature in Wee Jasper. What we are allowing into the Wee Jasper community and on the roads there equates to the most dangerous circumstances in all of New South Wales for that day. So all of those things, and we haven't even got into the risk of the risk of injury or fatality due to drug use, intoxication, sexual assault, indecent exposure. I've had the police relate to me that adult men are getting in and out of the lake naked, and that's in the presence of children. So yes, there are some unmitigatable risks, but even what the police are asking us to do in terms of trying to condition the removal of anyone who is intoxicated or behaving in a violent manner, there is no way for us to condition taking them to a safe place in that location because it's so isolated. So councillors, I will wrap up by saying that I believe that you need to revert to a 1 year, and I would commend any amendment to that so that you can continue to monitor this event going forward. You're going to have 500 extra people at this event that weren't there last year. That increases your population at the event.
Potentially 500, tickets haven't been sold.
So, potentially, correct. So, actually, I think they're sold out. So that's what I believe. So, what I think we should be doing, if you're not going to object to this and deny the application, I believe you should revert to the 1 year to give you the ability to consider monitoring this year by year. Thank you for your time, councillors. I appreciate it. If there's no, sorry, question, Councillor Fleming?
Yes, can I just ask you a question, or is that not correct?
You can ask me a question.
I just was a bit interested in sorry, it's a little bit of fact checking.
Yeah.
The helicopter being 1.3 hours away, if it's available. One morning during park run around the loop in Yass, a man had a really serious heart attack, and that helicopter was here within 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And so park run also has a risk. Sometimes it's mitigated, sometimes it's not, but I just was wondering where the helicopter in 1.3 hours away, I mean, I would have thought that when you look at distances away from Yass, that actually being away from Yass and getting help in there or being intoxicated people, putting them out, is actually can be managed by the community.
In the police report, it says 90 kilometres from a critical care facility via road and 1 hour 45 minutes. I guess with the helicopter, that might be reliant on whereabouts it is.
Yeah, so
in
just
the
checking
area.
that.
I think that would be the maximum distance. Alright. And I believe that that was also in the local emergency management
Which Councillor Carter said we should look at with some scrutiny. And one other question is, with a DA, and I'm going to go any familiar with this in terms of housing, can we condition it? So if it, because you were saying your dialogue then was there's no way that we could have a look in a year and say, actually, we think some things need to be improved. I would have thought with a DA that you could condition it, you could say, with the current risk plan or with a, if something happened like they had a wet weather and, there might have been some small isolated flooding and then they thought, oh gosh, we needed to touch up our risk plan there. I would have thought with a DA that we could do some minor amendments. We could look at, reviewing the risk plan annually or something like that. You could do that with buildings. You can condition it to say, and a final inspection before this time and then you can move in. So I just would think as a DA.
Councillor, I'll just seek some advice from the director.
Yep, so the condition of consent prior to each event.
Yep.
The documents need to be submitted. So the new, all the new management plans listed in that condition need to be submitted annually prior to each event.
Right, so just to clarify, if we were to approve the 5 years, we would still have a condition in there that says, and you need to update these relevant plans
Yep.
annually, and then you're right to go. Is that sort of how it works?
Yes,
Yeah.
through you, Madam Mayor, yes, correct.
Okay,
Yes, prior
so-
to each event.
So that's, we are.
It's a good
okay.
clarification. Councillors, I'll now pass back to Councillor McGrath, the mover, for closing comments. Okay. Councillors, let's put this to the vote. All those in favour of the DA before you? That's Councillor Carter, Councillor Butler, Councillor McGrath, Councillor Cherry, Councillor Cameron, Councillor Flannery, Councillor Rothwell. The motion is passed. All those against? One. Thank you, councillors. The motion is passed. Councillors, we'll now move on to the tender evaluation report, which will need to be moved into confidential. So move Councillor Butler and Councillor Cherry. And before we move into confidential for that item, it's very rare that we have this, but we have a full gallery. Is there anyone who objects to this item being moved into confidential? That's no. Councillors, we will now move ourselves into confidential and just give us.
Adrian, are you sticking around? Waiting for him?